Hey there, today we're taking a look at Fortnite Chapter 4 Season 2 running on the AMD Ryzen 5 5500U. Now we're taking a look at this running with the different memory configurations. So we have 8 gigabytes, we have 12 gigabytes, and we have 16 gigabytes. Now, an interesting thing that you're going to find, and we are running Fortnite here with the lowest in-game graphics settings. We are using the Performance API, and this is with the stock 15 watt TDP. Now what you're going to find is actually that the 8 gigabyte version is giving us the best performance, and I'll go into detail more later about this, but first we're going to take a look at how it performs in general with the different TDP configurations before I explain to you what exactly is going on here. And with a 25 watt TDP, you can see here that again the 8 gigabyte version actually ends up performing very well here, though not quite as well as the 16 gigabyte configuration. There is a noticeable gap between the 8 gigabytes and the 12 gigabytes, but again I will explain to you why exactly this is happening later. But you can definitely see that there is a noticeable gap between 12 gigabytes and 16. And of course, if we pump a full 30 watts of TDP into this chip, and the level of performance that we get here is continuing the trend that we've been seeing so far, where the 12 gigabyte configuration performs noticeably worse than the other two. But now I'll explain to you exactly what is going on with the 8 gigabyte configuration and why it performed so well compared to the other two. So what I found was actually that the 8 gigabyte configuration was performing noticeably better because of the fact that we were using the lowest possible quality models for practically everything. As I was playing through the game, a lot of the times things would be at pretty much the quality settings that you would expect if they were on the other side of the map. That was just applied to pretty much everything. So it seems to aggressively lower everything even further than the 12 or 16 gigabyte configuration. And because of this, it actually seems to perform extremely smooth, though visually speaking, there is a lot of pop in. But it's a funny situation where it's actually providing a pretty decent gaming experience just because it doesn't have enough VRAM to essentially keep everything at a good detail, and it has to aggressively lower everything. It kind of just leads to everything performing extremely well because it's running everything extremely low. So it's an interesting situation for sure, but it's kind of why the 8 gigabyte configuration actually performed noticeably better than the 12 gigabyte. And it's kind of an unexpected finding to say the least. But I really recommend getting your system up to at least 16 gigabytes of RAM because a lot of modern games are really eating up RAM like crazy lately, and it's a great way to future-proof your system, especially since prices for RAM right now are at actually pretty decent levels. For less than $100, you can pretty much get a system up to 32 gigabytes of RAM. That wouldn't really be a bad move, so it's definitely something that I would consider doing. But if you have 16 gigabytes of RAM, you're actually going to be able to play the game perfectly fine on here at the absolute lowest setting. Just keep in mind you will run into some performance issues if you're going to have a 12 gigabyte configuration, but I'll catch you guys in the next one.